Okay, boys, girls, and undecideds, here's what we have today. Standing at 5.5 feet tall, you have an old, probably late 60s, maybe early 70s, Kustom K200B bass amplifier. And it's 100 watts RMS. That cabinet has 3 15-inch speakers, and it should be able to put out some air, I would hope. And just got this here. I'm going to check it out. I can tell you right now it kind of works. It's all solid state. We'll get into it and take a look. It kind of works. This looks like it's going to be a pretty cut and dry, easy repair, but we'll take a look around a few other things about it. Man, I wish this was the thumbnail. That looks cool. Okay, so the Kustom 200 is an 100 watt solid state 2-channel amp. And physically we got some pretty good condition here. Each channel, this side being labeled the bright side, has a volume bright on and off, bass and treble. And this side, being called the normal channel, has volume, bright, bass and treble. Pretty straightforward. The on switch is one of those that you can flip it either way. I don't know if there's a significance to that, perhaps polarity reversal for reducing hum. Okay, on the back, Kustom from Schematic, Kansas. Model K200B1. Alright, an extraordinarily long power cord. I wondered what that RCA jack is for. Kind of mangled, but I was told that's a line out. Maybe. We have our 2 speaker outs. And then we have our warning to say that to prevent electric shock, don't take the chassis out of the cabinet because nobody can fix it except us. We'll see about that. Okay. Nothing else interesting there, and then we'll come down and look at the bottom of our cabinet. Now here's the first thing that strikes me, and I know they made PA cabinets too, but the input jack for this cabinet is at the bottom. It's at the bottom. Come on. Couldn't put it at the top or in the middle? Whatever. And the model of the cabinet appears to be 3-15 B, which I'm assuming the B is bass guitar, but that's a guess. We'll take a look and see what kind of speakers are inside of this. There were some PA model speaker cabs that had like a coaxial driver that had a tweeter sticking out of the middle of one of the woofers. This is not the case here. To me, the 3 speakers, we have an ordinary black cone. The middle we have a black cone with a silver cap on it, and then another black cone at the bottom. To me, these look like they're Utah, but I don't know till we take the back off. But we're not going to take the back off till we figure out what works and what doesn't work with this and get it working, because if it doesn't work, it's no good to anybody. But once we get it working, then we'll clean it up and make it cool. Okay, so here goes our test run. Okay, so the on switch leads to a purple glowing gem there, which doesn't glow as bright as I thought it would, but it's glowing. And no explosions. Both volumes turned down to 0 on both sides. And these are 12 and brights off. So let's try high gain with our bass guitar. And as I turn it up, I don't hear squat. I've got the volume on the guitar turned up enough, I know I do. So it's possible that we have a problem with our cable, but somehow I doubt that. Okay, so nothing from this channel at the moment. Let's see if anything comes from this channel. Absolutely zero. I'm going to go behind it and check the speaker lead. No idea if that would have made any difference. But I still have pretty much zero sound. And randomly it decided to come to life. So with a big pop, it decided to scare me. So the bass knob we have, the treble is really hissy. The bass works, but it's kind of rumbly and noisy. So the bright knob appears to be more of a bass cut than it does a bass boost. Okay, so that's going to work. Let's guess. Okay, so high and low are not, these are if your signal is high input or low input. Okay, so that works, but it hisses a lot. Let's check this side. Okay, so now it wants to work. This side is nice and quiet. Okay, so this side appears good, and this side sounds sizzly, but at least it works. So why did we not get a sound initially? Not sure. But I'm going to guess that these input jacks and pots and things need to be cleaned desperately, and we probably just have connections issues in there. So we'll go in and take a look. Okay, we're inside, and holy filter capacitors, Batman. These are 4,500 microfarad, 50 volt caps. And our big boys. We have our two input jacks over here. And we have our two preamp boards over here. There's the one channel. That's the one that worked pretty well in my estimation. And this is the one that worked less well in my estimation. And then we turn around. We have our power board, which again probably works well in my estimation. Because if I had to guess what was wrong without a schematic, other than spiders, because there's a few of those around here, I would think we have our problem right here, because if you just follow the wires, the wire sound goes in here, comes out in this bundle, comes over to this mess, and just turns 90 degrees and goes back. So and then these wires are twirled in with that, so I assume that we have an issue here. But before we even go too crazy with anything, we're going to take the home away from the spiders and take a bunch of years of dirt and grime out of this, and we're going to clean all of the potentiometers with our Max Pro electrical lubricant cleaner stuff. Okay, hooray. See you in a little bit. Okay, boys and girls, so we've cleaned all the controls and I've wiped the inside of the amp and blown it out with a little bit of an air duster. It's more or less what I can do within reason before having to take things way apart. So let's turn it on and see what happens. Let's turn our volume down to 0. By the way, the reason we didn't initially have sound is I've discovered the speaker cable meeting the jack inside of the speaker cabinet seems to have connection issues, so we'll address that when we get to the speaker cabinet. So we'll put the switch in the on position. The only thing I've changed up to this point is a light bulb, just because the one that was in there was a little dim for my taste. That's insignificant. So nothing in here. Turn the normal channel, or the normal channel all the way up, volume all the way up, no noise whatsoever. It's really quiet. We'll go into the low input, which is actually the high gain, and at the volume that's like at what, 15%. Very loud, very bassy. Both positions on the bright switch. Bass knob works good. Treble knob works good with no issues whatsoever. So happy there. We'll try the high input over here, which is going to be the low gain, if you will. Same result. Nothing to report. So let's check this bright channel on the other side. Okay. Now when I dime it and turn it all the way up, I hear a little bit, like we heard before, I can hear some noise. Okay? And the noise is exacerbated by the bass and treble. I don't know if you can hear that, but that's with our volume at 50% and the bass and treble maxed out. And that's with our volume maxed out. And then let's take our volume back down to low, and we'll plug our cable into the low input. And immediately upon putting the cable in, the quantity of noise increases dramatically. Okay, so what does this mean? I don't know yet, but we're going to find out. In general, with these vintage amps, we think about electrolytic capacitors. The filter capacitors down here, these are generally tough as nails, and we don't need to go after them. And when I looked at the board before, I said, I don't see any electrolytic capacitors on these boards. Well, that's kind of true, but it's kind of not true. Just because of where our camera is, we'll take a look back here on our power board. Hopefully our tripod will be stable. We look over here and we see capacitors like these. Let me turn this off before I stick my fingers in it. Capacitors like these are orange drops, and we're familiar with those. Those are generally a poly of some sort. And then we have these orange ones over here, and they actually have a plus on them. So these are polarized. These are tantalum capacitors, which are a variant of an electrolytic polarized capacitor. So technically we do have those on the preamp boards. There's about 4 or 5 of them. So we're going to take a look at those on the preamp board for the bright channel. So we'll pull that board out and have a look at it. Okay, so this is as much for my own records as it is for the video. That blue wire there coming to the circuit board is the input, the audio input. And the first tantalum capacitor closest to that is this 33 microfarad, what does it say, 15 volt? 15 volt tantalum capacitor right here. And the plus side is over here on the side that I have my thumb there. So we're going to take that out and give it a test and see if we get any conclusive result. Okay, so we're testing that first tantalum capacitor. And it comes out to say voltage loss 0.9, capacitance 34.38 microfarad, ESR 1.3 ohms. That's not a bad result, I don't think. It's supposed to be 33 microfarads and it's 34, and last time I ran the test I think it was 35. ESR of 1.3 ohms I don't think is too ridiculous. So I'm going to say that it's probably not this capacitor, so we'll keep looking. Okay, now this is a 10 microfarad tantalum, and this one's showing a voltage loss of 0.5, but an ESR of 4.8. 4.8 seems a little high. You know, I usually try to shoot for under 2 ohms. 4.8 is weird, so I'm going to check another one of the same value and see what that looks like. Okay, so here's another one that was a 10, and it checks at 11.16 with an ESR of 3.7, so I don't know, I can't say these are bad yet, not sure, we'll keep going. Okay, so I have a 10 microfarad electrolytic. This really doesn't have any hours on it. This is a 25 volt cap. The one that comes out is a 15 volt, so that should work. I'll give that a shot. This one checks in at 10.81 mics, so it's all the way up to its normal capacitance. See if it helps. Well, simply put, that didn't get me anywhere. We still have the hissing noise, but you know, that was kind of dumb of me to go after that one. It wasn't terrible. I mean, it's not going to hurt anything, and I'll probably get a more appropriate one for it eventually. But the reason I say it's kind of dumb of me is, if I think about it, the problem is before the volume knob. Because if I turn the volume knob to 0, it's quiet and there's no problem. So we look at the input coming in over here, and then we have this stuff. We've got cap, 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 and some resistors through here. These blue things, they're Dale, which is Vishay Dale, and they say 49.9K. So I'm assuming the aqua things are just resistors, but we're going to look at the schematic and make sure I'm not stupid. Well, not stupid, mistaken. I don't think I'm necessarily stupid, but I'm frustrated sometimes because we want to know everything instantaneously, and when it's the first time working on something, you learn a lot, sometimes through frustration. Okay, so we're going to look a little bit at the schematic, and then we're going to scratch our head for a little bit, and then we'll make a part 2 of the video once we've made a decision and ordered a few pieces. So this is a website called Vintage Kustom. It's run by a fellow who goes by the name of Kustom Dan. Thanks, Dan, for your help here. This is the preamp board known as a PC203. So this is what we're looking at. Our audio signal comes in. We have a first transistor here. Now this transistor, I'm not sure what it does. Maybe a push-pull kind of thing? I don't know. But our volume pot's here. So if our volume pot is here, and when I turn the volume down to 0, which would be bringing no resistance to ground, so I'm assuming the audio is coming out of here and then heading out from there. So yeah. So that would, I think we're probably looking at one of these, this tantalum capacitor maybe, possibly. I don't think the ceramics are noisy. I tapped on them. I didn't think they're messed up. We have these 49.9K resistors, which they are resistors. I was right. That's what those aqua colored things are. I tried shooting the resistors with freeze spray to see if I got any reaction, but I didn't. But doesn't mean I won't take a swing at them if I have to, or replace a few of them if I have to. So audio comes in there, and when this audio signal is grounded, the hiss is less, and then when it actually gets audio signal, it hisses more. So when the input jack is grounded, there's less signal, and then you unground the input jack and go to feed signal, and it comes in, and then it really starts to hiss and sound like a son of a gun. So I'm voting that we either have, so one of the, it's either this transistor or one of the supporting components around it. That's what I'm thinking. So what we'll do is we'll run this up to a few of our think tank of other technicians that we talk, because that's the great thing about YouTube. It is a community, and that's probably a 50-cent transistor maximum, more like a quarter or a nickel. And then while we're at it, we'll probably just buy tantalum capacitors and replace them, because the ESR values of over 3 ohms is a little annoying. They should be lower than that, so they are aged. Okay, so on that thought, we're going to post this video as part 1, and we'll see you in part 2 once we've made a decision and have gotten some components in. So that'll be a few days away, but we'll make some decisions and talk about it. Thanks.